There's a moment most women notice but rarely talk about. It happens in the quiet space between closeness and connection. No rush, no noise, just presence. He shifts, pulls you closer, and suddenly your body feels held in a way that makes time slow down. And in that moment, something changes, not just physically, but emotionally. You feel seen, desired, chosen. And what most women don't realize is that he feels it too, even more deeply than you think. Because when a man lifts your legs, when he instinctively brings you close, it isn't about control or dominance the way people casually assume. It's about intimacy. It's about the unspoken language of trust. His body is responding to something your words never had to say. I'm here. I'm open. I'm with you. And for a man, that silent message hits harder than any compliment ever could. This is where attraction stops being shallow and starts becoming emotional. This is where desire turns into attachment. Because men don't bond through talking things out the way women do. They bond through moments, through how they feel when they're close to you, when their guard drops, when they feel grounded, connected, and fully present. And this moment does exactly that. What's fascinating is that most men couldn't explain why this feels so powerful, even if you ask them. They just tell you it feels different, deeper, more real. But underneath that feeling is something every woman should understand. This is one of the few moments where a man feels both strong and emotionally safe at the same time. And once you understand why this moment matters to him, what it signals, what it awakens, what it quietly builds, you stop seeing intimacy as something you perform and start seeing it as something you share. Stay with me, because once you hear the real reasons behind this, I'll never look at closeness the same way again, and neither will he. What most women don't realize is that attraction for men doesn't begin in the body, it begins in the nervous system. Long before desire becomes physical, it passes through something far more powerful, instinct. And one of the strongest instincts a man has is the need to protect, ground, and emotionally anchor the person he feels connected to. When he brings you closer, when he lifts or supports your legs, what he's really responding to is not a visual cue, it's a subconscious signal of trust. In that moment, your body language is communicating something words never could. I feel safe with you. And for a man, that message is intoxicating. Not because it feeds his ego, but because it activates his purpose. Men are wired to bond through responsibility. When he senses that you are relaxed, open, and fully present with him, his system interprets it as permission to step in. A role that feels deeply natural, being the one who holds the space, steadies the moment, and protects the connection. This is where many people misunderstand masculine desire. It's not about dominance or control, it's about containment, about being the emotional anchor in a moment where vulnerability exists. When you're close like that, he feels the weight of the moment not as pressure but as meaning. His focus sharpens, his awareness deepens. And instead of chasing stimulation, he's grounded in presence. What's powerful here is that this instinct doesn't require effort from you. You don't have to act a certain way or perform intimacy. Simply being comfortable in closeness allows him to step into that role naturally. And when a man gets to show up as his grounded, protective self without being asked or tested, his attraction intensifies. Because now, desire is layered with purpose. This is also why this kind of closeness often feels different from casual moments. There's a seriousness to it, not heavy, but intentional. He's not distracted, he's not scattered, he's there. And in that presence, something subtle happens. Emotional attachment begins to form. Because men bond when they feel needed, in a way that doesn't threaten their freedom. When protection is chosen, not demanded, it becomes devotion. Another reason this instinct is so powerful is because it allows him to feel strong without having to perform strength. Society often teaches men that strength means emotional distance. But moments like this give them permission to feel closeness without losing their sense of self. He gets to be steady, grounded, and emotionally connected all at once. And that combination is rare. When a man experiences that kind of connection with a woman, it leaves imprint. Not a loud one, but a deep one. He may not talk about it. He may not even fully understand it. but he'll notice something shifts inside him. He feels calmer with you, more focused, more emotionally present. And that's because his protective instinct has been engaged in the healthiest way possible through mutual trust. This is why women who understand emotional safety are often unforgettable. Not because they do more, but because they allow men to be more. And when a man associates you with that feeling of grounded closeness, he doesn't just desire you, he feels connected to you. And connection, far more than attraction, is what makes a man stay. What most women don't realize is that men aren't overwhelmed by desire, they're overwhelmed by distraction. Their minds are often loud, scattered, pulled in 100 directions. And real intimacy doesn't happen when stimulation increases. It happens when the noise finally goes quiet. That's why moments of close, intentional proximity feel so powerful to him. When he brings you closer, when that physical distance disappears, the world narrows. Suddenly it's just the two of you. No performance, no rushing, just presence. And presence is rare. In that kind of closeness, something subtle but profound happens inside a man. His attention locks in, his breathing slows, his nervous system shifts from alert mode into connection mode. This isn't about excitement, it's about focus. And focused attraction is far deeper than impulsive desire. It's the difference between wanting a moment and wanting you. This is where emotional intensity is born. Not through words, not through dramatic gestures, but through stillness. When there's nowhere else to look, nowhere else to be, and nothing else to prove. Men crave this more than they admit. Because in those moments, they don't have to impress. They don't have to lead. They don't have to perform confidence. They just get to be. And here's the part most women miss. When a man feels emotionally focused with you, he starts associating calm with attraction, safety with desire, depth with pleasure, and that rewires how he experiences intimacy. You stop being someone he's drawn to only when things are exciting, and start becoming someone he craves when he wants to feel grounded. That's why these moments often feel quieter but heavier. There's meaning in the silence. There's communication in the stillness. Eye contact lasts longer. Touch feels more intentional. And without saying anything, both of you feel the shift. This is different. This isn't just chemistry. This is connection. For women, this can feel incredibly validating because you're not doing more, you're allowing more. You're letting the moment breathe instead of rushing to fill it. And in doing so, you invite him into emotional depth without ever asking for it. That's powerful. Because men resist emotional conversations, but they surrender to emotional experiences. And once a man experiences that kind of intensity with you, casual intimacy starts to lose its appeal. Because surface level connection can't compete with moments where he feels fully seen, fully present, and emotionally anchored. This is where attachment quietly forms, not through intention, but through association. He may not call it emotional intimacy. He may not label it at all, but he'll feel it. He'll notice that when he's with you, time slows, that his mind doesn't wander. That being close to you feels grounding instead of overwhelming. And those feelings don't fade easily. This is why emotional intensity is far more seductive than excitement. Excitement spikes and crashes. Intensity lingers. It stays in the body, in the memory, in the way he thinks about you when you're not there. And once a man connects desire with emotional presence, he doesn't just want another moment. He wants more moments like this with you. And that's how closeness becomes unforgettable. Not because it was louder, but because it was deeper. One of the most misunderstood things about attraction is this: men don't fall deeper because they're convinced they fall deeper because they feel chosen. And nothing communicates that more powerfully than desire that doesn't need to be explained. When a moment unfolds naturally, when closeness happens without hesitation or tension, it sends a clear, silent message to a man's nervous system. This isn't forced. This is mutual. Men are incredibly sensitive to rejection, even when they don't show it. Beneath confidence, bravado, or experience, there's often a quiet fear overstepping, misreading signals, or wanting more than the other person does. That's why unspoken reassurance is so powerful. When your body language is relaxed, open, and responsive, it removes doubt. He doesn't have to wonder if he's moving too fast or crossing a line. He feels that you're there with him. This is where desire becomes magnetic, because it's not being requested, it's being shared. When a man senses mutual desire without words, his mind stops questioning and starts settling. He doesn't feel like he's chasing approval or performing attraction. Instead, he feels aligned, and alignment is intoxicating. It tells him that the moment is unfolding because both of you want it, not because one person is leading and the other is following. This kind of silent consent is deeply grounding for men. It allows them to relax into the experience instead of monitoring it. And when a man is relaxed, his attraction becomes warmer, deeper, and more emotionally present. He's not just reacting, he's connecting. For women, this often feels empowering without effort. You're not convincing him of anything. You're not proving desire. You're simply allowing the moment to exist. And that ease is incredibly attractive, because confidence at its core is comfort with oneself, and comfort is far more seductive than intensity. What's fascinating is how quickly men associate this feeling with the woman they're with. He may not consciously think, she made me feel safe to want, but his body remembers it. His emotions register it. And suddenly, he feels closer not just physically, but emotionally, because now attraction feels reciprocal instead of risky. This is why moments like this linger in a man's mind long after they pass. Not because they were dramatic, but because they were validating. They told him without words that his desire was welcome, that his presence was wanted. And that kind of validation doesn't fade quickly. It also builds trust. Silent mutual desire creates a feedback loop of respect. He becomes more attentive, more emotionally tuned in, more aware of you. Because when a man feels safe to desire, he becomes safer to connect with. Walls come down. Guardedness softens, and intimacy deepens naturally. This is where attraction starts turning into emotional attachment, because desire that feels mutual creates a sense of belonging. And belonging is what makes intimacy meaningful. It's what transforms moments into memories and memories into longing. So when closeness happens without explanation, when desire flows without negotiation, it's not just chemistry, it's communication. And for men, that kind of communication is powerful, because it tells them something they rarely hear but always crave. You want it here, exactly as you are. And once a man feels that with you, he doesn't just want the moment again, he wants the feeling again. And that feeling becomes associated with you. That's how silent desire becomes unforgettable. There is a quiet but powerful difference between being wanted and being chosen. And most people underestimate how deeply men feel this distinction. Being wanted is flattering, it speaks to attraction. But being chosen, that speaks to connection, and connection is what stays. When a man feels chosen in an intimate moment, something shifts inside him. Desire stops feeling temporary and starts feeling personal. Wanting someone can be situational. It can be about chemistry, timing, mood, but choosing someone is intentional. It says, out of all the possibilities, I'm here with you. And when closeness unfolds naturally, when the moment feels mutual and unforced, that's exactly the message a man receives without you ever saying a word. This is why certain moments feel heavier in the best way. Not intense in a chaotic sense, but meaningful. The energy slows down. There's a sense of arrival. And for a man, that feeling is rare, because many men go through life feeling desired for what they provide, how they perform, or how they show up, but not often feeling chosen for who they are in a quiet, unguarded moment. Let me give you an example. Imagine two different scenarios. In the first, everything is fast. The energy is rushed. The connection feels exciting, but slightly detached. He feels wanted, sure, but replaceable, like he's part of a moment, not the moment. Now contrast that with this. The pace slows. There's no urgency. You're close, comfortable, present. There's no sense that you're anywhere else mentally. No checking out, no distraction. Just shared stillness. In that moment, he doesn't feel like an option. He feels selected. And that that feeling lands deeply. Because what he's experiencing isn't just attraction, it's relevance. Men crave relevance more than validation. They want to know they matter not just physically, but emotionally. And moments like this quietly answer that question. They tell him, I'm here with you because I want you, not because of circumstance, not because of momentum, but because of connection. This is also why men often become more emotionally invested after these moments. Even if they don't articulate it, they feel a shift. They might become more attentive, more thoughtful, more consistent, not because they planned to, but because their nervous system has registered you as someone emotionally significant. And here's the important part for women to understand. This has nothing to do with doing more. It has everything to do with allowing more, allowing presence, allowing closeness, allowing the moment to breathe. When you're fully, they're not performing, not overthinking, you create space for him to feel chosen instead of evaluated. This is where attachment forms quietly. Not through words like what are we or where is this going, but through experiences that answer those questions emotionally before they're ever asked. A man who feels chosen doesn't need reassurance, he feels it. And once a man associates you with that feeling of being chosen, it becomes difficult for him to disconnect casually. Because now, intimacy with you isn't just pleasurable, it's meaningful. And meaning is sticky, it lingers. It stays with him when you're not around. That's why women who create this kind of emotional space are often unforgettable. Not because they tried harder, but because they made the man feel something deeper than desire. They made him feel selected, grounded, and emotionally included. And when a man feels chosen by you, attraction doesn't fade at roots. There's a truth about men that rarely gets talked about openly because it doesn't fit the stereotype of strength, confidence, or control. Beneath all of that, men crave emotional safety just as deeply as women do. They simply experience it differently. Men don't always open up through conversation. They open up through experience, through moments where they don't feel judged, rushed, or expected to be anything other than present. When man feels emotionally safe with you, his defenses soften, his need to impress fades, his internal pressure to get it right disappears. And in that quiet emotional space, something powerful happens. He starts to relax into who he really is. That's when real connection begins. This is why certain moments feel heavier, warmer, more intimate than others. Not because of what's happening physically, but because of what's happening emotionally underneath. When closeness unfolds naturally and calmly, his nervous system reads it as safety. No tests, no expectation, no unspoken demands, just presence. And for a man, that feeling is rare. Men spend much of their lives feeling evaluated. Are they good enough? Confident enough? Strong enough? Interesting enough? Even in relationships, many men feel like they're being measured, sometimes subtly, sometimes constantly. So when a moment arrives where none of that exists, where he doesn't feel like he's being assessed or managed, it lands deeply. Emotional safety tells him you don't have to perform here, and that message is incredibly disarming. When a man feels emotionally safe, he becomes more emotionally available. He listens more closely. He connects more deeply. He stays present instead of pulling away, because safety allows him to stay instead of escape. And once a man associates you with that feeling of safety, you become more than someone he's attracted to. You become someone he feels grounded with. This is the moment where attraction quietly turns into attachment. What's important to understand is that emotional safety isn't created by reassurance or constant communication. It's created by ease, by moments that don't feel heavy with expectation, by closeness that doesn't demand explanation. When you allow the moment to exist without pressure, you create space for him to feel emotionally held. And when a man feels emotionally held, he doesn't panic, he doesn't withdraw, he doesn't shut down. Instead, he leans in. This is why men often become more consistent after experiencing emotional safety with a woman. They text more thoughtfully. They check in more naturally. They prioritize time without being asked, not because they're afraid of losing her, but because being with her feels good on a nervous system level. And once a man feels that kind of calm connection, casual intimacy loses its appeal, because excitement can be found anywhere. But emotional safety, that's rare, and rarity creates value. This is also why emotional safety is unforgettable. A man may forget details, conversations, even timelines, but he won't forget how safe he felt being close to you. That feeling becomes a reference point, something he unconsciously compares future connections to. And here's the most powerful part: you don't have to try to create this. Emotional safety is born from authenticity, from being present instead of performative, from allowing closeness without controlling it. When you trust the moment, you invite him to trust it too. And when a man trusts the moment with you, he doesn't just feel desire. He feels connection, belonging, peace. That's when men truly attach, not because they were convinced, chased, or persuaded, but because they felt emotionally safe enough to stay. So let's bring this home, because if you've been listening closely, you realize this was never really about a position, a moment, or a move. It was about what that moment represents. We talked about how men are wired to respond to trust before desire, how closeness can awaken a protective instinct that isn't about control, but about care, how emotional intensity is created not by doing more, but by slowing down and being fully present, how silent mutual desire makes a man feel chosen instead of replaceable, and finally, how emotional safety, real, unforced safety, is where men don't just feel attraction, they feel attachment. And here's the most important takeaway of all: you don't create deep attraction by trying to be irresistible. You create it by being emotionally available without pressure. That's what makes a man feel grounded with you. That's what makes him want to stay instead of drift. And that's what turns moments into memories he doesn't forget. If this resonated with you, I want to hear from you, because this conversation matters. Comment below which point surprised you the most and why. Or have you ever felt that quiet shift when a moment suddenly became deeper than you expected? Your experience might be exactly what another woman needs to read. And if you want more insights like this, real psychology, real connection, no games, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the strongest attraction isn't loud, it's calm, it's grounded. And once you understand that, you stop chasing connection and start attracting it naturally.